Hello, thanks for joining in on this video. The goal of this video will be to explain the fundamentals of the Bachelor's Accelerated Master's Program, also known as the BAM. We're going to talk about everything from application to tuition to course planning and everything in between. Before we do that, I want to show you how to find our BAM website. And you should also have already watched the MS Accounting and MS Taxation information video. But to find our programs, you would click under the Graduate Programs link on the Leeds School of Business website, then the Accounting and Taxation link. From there, you should have already watched the main video, but you'll notice here there's a link to our BAM portal, and you can also over here click the BAM Accounting and Taxation. So let's do that. I just want to explain before I click that, the MS Accounting degree or the MS Taxation degree are what you're going to earn. But you're going to earn those via the BAM route, which is a tuition savings benefit available to our Leeds undergrads. So the way you will do that is you'll click this, and you'll see down at the bottom of this page, there's my contact info and also Jerry's contact info. I am your source for questions related to things like course sequencing or career advice. Jerry, she will be your best source for anything related to the administrative side of the program. So things like how to apply or issues you may experience with the portal or documents that need to be uploaded, things of that nature. So there's our email addresses. I wanted to start with that. And basically what we're going to do at this point is I'm going to bounce out into PowerPoint, walk you through some of the fundamentals of the BAM program and how it actually works. Again, you should have already watched the MS Accounting and Taxation information video because those are the degrees you're earning. But I'm going to show you how you'll navigate that and the way tuition will impact you through the BAM timeline. So at this point, I'm going to pause the video and jump back over into PowerPoint. Okay. So here we are taking a look at some PowerPoint slides related to information around the BAM program. A good way to think about what the BAM program is, it is simply a path that the graduate school at the University of Colorado has created that allows students that are already University of Colorado at Boulder students at the undergrad level to expedite their master's degree, as well as to take advantage of some tuition savings by allowing them to take graduate courses at undergrad tuition. So that's the basic idea of the BAM. There are many BAM programs on campus, but I'm only here today talking about the Accounting and Taxation BAM version of it. But there are many BAM programs throughout the campus at CU Boulder. Okay, so right now we're over here, right? You are learning, you're a prospect, you're here to get some information, and at some point, you're gonna qualify to apply for this. So if you want to know when you'll be eligible to apply, here's what you need to do. You need to complete the prerequisite courses. We'll mention these again in a minute, but they are the 4 junior level accounting courses. So 3220, 3230, 3320, and 3440. The 4 junior level accounting courses at Leeds are the prereqs for this program. You can apply during the semester that you're finishing them. Or if you're going to finish them over the summer, you can apply the spring before that. Okay, so you're either going to apply in the fall or the spring. And if you're going to finish these classes in the summer, you would apply in the spring. If you're going to finish them in the fall, you'd apply in the fall. And if you're going to finish them in the spring, you would apply that spring. Okay, not only do you need to be finishing those up, you need to have a 3.1 GPA cumulatively, and you need to have a prereq of 3.0, so a prereq GPA of 3.0 in those 4 classes with at least a B- in each of them. So for example, maybe you get a B- in 3220, but you get a B+ in 3230. Well, that would average obviously to a B, a 3.0. If you fall short of these or you fear you're gonna fall short, I would recommend you reach out to me and we take a look at your situation and see what might make the most sense to you as far as what you need to do to apply. We have had students have to retake courses. We have had students not be eligible for the BAM version of the program and the tuition savings therein, but they still might be eligible for the MS degree separately where they pay full graduate tuition. So just reach out to me. Again, my email was listed earlier and I'll show it again later. And I'll be happy to help you figure out what you need to do going forward. Okay. Once you do that, and we'll talk about it in a minute, you're going to do the BAM intent application and the department application, and I'll show you where those are. The deadline for that would be if you're planning on starting in the spring, you would apply by October 15th. If you're planning on starting in the fall, you would apply by March 15th. And if you're planning on applying in the summer, we would recommend you go ahead and apply in the fall. We do start students fall start, spring start, and summer start. So we start throughout the year. Okay, throughout this entire timeline, you're still under undergrad advising. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't help you if you have a very weird situation. Maybe you have a lot of transfer credits, or you took a semester off, or you studied abroad. It doesn't mean I might not need to jump in and help you out as I advise you. But what it means is you technically still fall under undergrad advising. You're not a graduate student yet. Okay. And our undergrad advisors are very, very acutely aware of the BAM program. They do a great job of advising our students and setting them up. And honestly, if they feel like they need my input, they will refer you to me. But you're still under undergrad advising at that point. And so then what you would do is you would fill out these 2 applications. We'll talk about them later. And you're most likely going to receive a response from us that semester that says, hey, we reviewed your records. Everything looks good, but we still need to see how the semester shakes out. We still need to see how you finish your prereqs. And so you'll get what we would call a conditional acceptance, most likely, which says simply, you will be accepted to the program as long as you earn the following grades this fall or the following grades this spring. Now, if you happen to apply later after you've already finished all these prereqs, so maybe you finished Corp 2, which is usually the last class students take. Maybe you finished Corp 2 in the fall, and you actually decide late to apply for the BAM, so you don't apply until the spring. Well, at that point, we may be able to just send you a letter of acceptance because we know how you did in the undergrad, in the prereqs. I want to warn you, don't apply late unless it's just a late occurrence to you. Don't apply late because it could cost you money by not allowing you to start it on time. So our advice would be to apply during the semester that you're finishing those courses. Okay, at that point, assuming you do everything you're supposed to do, you'll be admitted. And as soon as you're admitted, we will have you attend orientation, which is either in December or in August. So we do it in December for the spring starts and August for the fall starts. And you'll still be under undergrad advising at that point, okay? And so what ends up happening, I'm actually going to skip ahead. Here's the actual timeline to give you a higher view of the program. You're going to be an undergrad student once you're admitted, but you're allowed to take up to 12 credits of MS coursework while you're still an undergrad finishing your undergrad degrees. That's why they call it the accelerated masters. You're able to take up to 12 credit hours of MS coursework while still finishing your undergrad courses and while still paying undergrad tuition. Then you're going to finish your undergrad degree and you'll fill out these 2 forms, which we'll explain at orientation. Once you've done that, you've now finished your undergrad degree, you've taken some of the MS coursework, and you did all of that at undergrad tuition, but now you'll finish your remaining graduate courses, and during those you'll pay graduate tuition. And also during those, you'll be under MS advising for academic advising, meaning Jerry and myself will be your primary point of contact. You will completely be done with the undergrad. So let's do some quick math. It's a 30 credit hour program. If you did take all 12 of the BAM credits, that would leave only 18 hours of MS coursework. And so you would finish those MS courses at whatever pace you choose, paying graduate tuition, which I'll explain later how that works. Then you'd apply for graduation and you'd finish up your master's degree. And so basically you're going to be a student on 3 different levels. You're first an undergrad student. That's what you are right now. You're just an undergrad student. You're not a BAM student. You're certainly not a grad student. You're undergrad only. Then for a period of time, you'll be what we call a BAM student. You're still an undergrad tuition payer, but you're taking some graduate courses and some undergrad courses. And then the final leg of your academic career, you're a grad student. You're not taking any undergrad courses. You're certainly not paying any undergrad tuition. You're paying graduate tuition, finishing graduate courses, and that's the final leg of the academic timeline. Okay, so let me explain a little further how this can work. So here's the basic idea that the graduate school came up with. They allow you to take up to 4 MS courses before you graduate with your undergrad degree. Those courses will be billed at undergrad tuition, and up to 3 of those courses can actually fulfill undergrad and graduate requirements. So let me explain that. You're going to notice if you look at your Leeds undergrad advising records that you're required, for example, to take Accounting 4850, the senior capstone, to get your undergrad degree from Leeds. Well, it turns out if you're a BAM student, you'll never take that class. Instead, you'll take Accounting 6350. And that course will count both towards your master's degree and your undergrad capstone. It will count twice towards your degree process. Now, I want to point something out that is confusing to students. It will count on both of your degree audits, but it will only count on your transcript for 3 credit hours. So your degree progress, your degree audit will grow by 3 hours at the undergrad and by 3 hours at the master's. So that seems like 6 hours. However, your transcript only grows by 3 hours. So you're basically getting 2 for the price of 1, but you're still only getting 3 credit hours. The reason that's important, as many of you know that have done some research on the CPA eligibility, you have to have 150 unique credit hours to be CPA eligible. Well, in this instance of what the graduate school would call double counting, where you get 6 hours of progress for 3 hours of actual coursework, that's still only 3 hours of unique credit hours. Your transcript still only grows by 3 credits. So you're going to have to do some planning. Here's the easy way to think about it. My program, the Master's in Accounting, is 30 credit hours. It shows that right there. The taxation program is 31 credit hours. That means you as a student need to make sure that your academic plan includes 120 hours that aren't BAM related, if you're accounting, or 119 hours that aren't BAM related, if you're MS taxation. Right? So the way I pose it when I meet with students is, how many hours will you have when you graduate, not including any accounting 4,000, 5,000, or 6,000 courses, not including any of the master's courses, and not including your accounting 4,000 level courses. How many hours will you have? We need you to have 120 if you're accounting, 119 if you're taxation, so that the ones I add in for you end up adding up to 150. That's a good way to think about it. Okay. Also, because it's a 30-hour program for accounting and a 31-hour program for taxation, by the way, they're both 10-course programs, but the taxation course our taxation program has a 4 credit hour course. So these are both 10-course programs. Because you're only allowed to take 12 hours while you're still an undergrad, I hope you see that means there will be at least 18 remaining, 30 minus the 12 you could take. Now, it turns out some students aren't even able to fit in the full 12 hours of BAM. Maybe their particular academic schedule, they can only fit in 9 hours of BAM or 6 hours of BAM. Well, in that case, then they would still have 21 or 24 hours, respectively, of graduate coursework. And those will be billed at grad tuition. So we'll try to work with you to help you figure out the maximum benefit for you. But for some students, they're just not able to squeeze in all 4 of the classes. They can only maybe squeeze in 2 or 3 or 4. 2 or 3, I should say. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about, because this is sometimes lost on students. There is no way for you to take more than 4 classes until you finish the undergrad degree. So I'll have students say things like, well, could I pay grad tuition for some grad classes while still finishing my undergrad classes? And the answer is no. You hit a hard stop. You have to finish your undergrad degree and receive your undergrad degree to move into the grad portion of the timeline. Okay. And the graduate school has done that on purpose. They want to make sure students have finished that undergrad degree before they're allowed to progress. Okay. I have said everything on this slide. You can feel free to pause the video and read everything on it, but I've said almost everything on this. Some students do fall short though. So maybe you've been a very efficient student and you realize that you're going to be 3 credit hours short of 150 hours, even though you're going to get the master's degree. You're going to only end up maybe at 147 hours. Well, the good news is you could take virtually any class and it would qualify towards that 150. So I like to explain it as this. There's basically 3 groups of interested parties for your degree here at Leeds. There is Leeds that cares about your undergrad requirements. right? So you got the Leeds Undergrad advising, and they care about your undergrad requirements. Then there's myself and the grad school, and we care that you're doing everything to earn your grad requirements. And neither of those two really care so much about the other. They have different viewpoints on the world. Then the final one would be the CPA board at whatever state you're planning on going and getting licensed in. Well, the CPA board doesn't care what you got your undergrad in. They don't care whether or not you got a master's degree. They only care that you got 150 hours, and then each state has their own right to determine specific requirements within that. And so this weird thing happens where you as a student in accounting have to make sure that you're making all three parties happy. Have you done everything to get your undergrad? Have you done everything to get your grad degree? And then finally, have you done everything to ensure that the CPA board will sign off on your academic background? And so we will help you juggle that. We will give you access to resources and to faculty members that can help you make sure that you're checking all the proper boxes. But there are three different interested parties there: undergrad, grad, and then the accountancy boards. Okay, we've said almost all of this. I want to point out there, though, that it does say you could take 4 classes. The maximum benefit of the BAM is that you'd take 4 classes as an undergrad, 4 master's classes as an undergrad, and you would overlap or double count 3 of those towards your MS degree. Okay, all of you will overlap 2 of the 4 classes, and here's why. All of you are required, if we go to the next slide, all of you are required to take 4850 if you don't do the BAM program. If you're an accounting undergrad, you have to do 4850. Well, I'm going to have you take 6350 instead. So there's the first one that you're all pretty much guaranteed. Also, all of you are required, if you look closely, to take a 4000 elective, a 4000 emphasis elective. Well, I'm going to let you take a master's course that overlaps against that. So every undergrad accounting student is going to bypass those 2 4000 accounting courses and instead take my master's courses. And so all of you are pretty much guaranteed, as long as you apply on time, you're guaranteed the tuition benefit for 2 of the classes. But if you've been paying attention and reading, I mentioned that you could actually count a 3rd class as well. Well, what it would have to be would be a business elective. So say you realize that you need a business elective, and you already have sufficient number of hours, but you just need a business elective, well, then you would be allowed to count a 3rd BAM class towards the business elective. So I would say that most of our students do take 4 BAM classes, but most of them only count 2 of the 4, which would be the 4000 elective and the 4000 senior capstone. Every now and then a student still needs a business elective. Maybe they studied abroad or something like that. And so they'll count one of the BAM classes towards that as well. Okay. And then you obviously could take a 4th class that just can't overlap. So there's no written law on how many classes you're going to take. It kind of depends on your semester, or not your semester, your transcript, I'm sorry, and your degree needs. But I would say the most likely thing we see is students taking 3 or 4 BAM classes and counting 2 of them, which would be the 4000 accounting course equivalents. We do see students every now and then that only can take 2 because they don't have the bandwidth to fit more than that. We do see students that take 4 and count 3. I mean, there's all kinds of situations that can unfold. We'll help you figure that out. Now, I want you to read the bottom of this slide. Before you can finish the remaining coursework, you must graduate with the bachelor's degree. I recommend that you also ensure you've fulfilled all but 18 hours towards your MS degree so that you can hit the CPA eligibility requirement. Okay, I skipped a word there. I'm sorry, my microphone was in the way. It's also recommended that you ensure you have fulfilled all but 18 hours towards your MS degree and 150 hours. So that would be that maximum benefit thing. What I mean is, if you graduate with your undergrad and you still need 18 hours to finish your MS because you took the first 12 already, well, you also in that case would need to make sure you had 132 total hours, so that those total hours of 132 plus the 18 you're going to finish up for the master's get you to 150. Okay, another way to put that: what if you only took 9 hours of BAM coursework? You couldn't fit all 12 of them. That's fine. That means you have 21 hours left for your master's degree, in which case you need to make sure you have 129 hours total before before you finish your undergrad, so that those remaining 21 masters get you to 150. So just always anchor off of 150. Are your remaining courses going to get you to 150? And again, that's something that will require some thought and some investigation by you, but we're happy to help you out if you need it. Okay, so this is just a template of roughly what we would recommend for the traditional student path. In the third year, they would go ahead and apply after they finish those courses. In the fourth year, maybe you would do something like this, where you take 2 of these classes maybe in the fall and 2 of them in the spring. Now, the specific 2 I have highlighted in the spring are offered compressed. Those courses actually start after spring break, which means you could plan on doing a busy season internship during the winter of your 4th year, so that you go and work for 10 or 12 weeks, well, 10 weeks, I should say, and then you would come back and do these compressed courses. I'll warn you that the compressed timeline, doing these courses like that, does not work very well for tax students, because a lot of the firms want you to do a tax internship through the tax day, through mid-April. So a lot of our tax students actually take the entire semester off to go do that internship and then make up the ground later. So just be aware of that if you're a tax student. Okay, this is very fluid. You can adapt this to your specific situation. For example, had a student this fall who last spring happened to finish up everything they needed except for their accounting 4,000 courses. So they still needed those 2 4,000 accounting courses, but they'd tied up everything else. Okay, well, we just put them in 4 BAM courses this fall, the 2 that they needed for the 4,000 equivalent and 2 others. So they'll have 1 BAM semester. They'll just be in all BAM classes. This fall, they'll finish up their accounting degree, their undergrad degree, and then starting in the spring, they'll focus on their the remaining hours of 18 hours of graduate timeline. Okay, and so we can adapt this to you. There's not necessarily one path to success. There is usually a trade-off. There is usually a sweet spot for you that'll be the most efficient in terms of cost and time. It may not be the cheapest, it may not be the fastest, but it's probably the sweet spot of both. And so just be aware of that. The final thing I wanted to mention, so it's just a suggested route on that prior slide. You can flex it and take them whenever makes sense to you. We may decide that for you, the cheapest, best option is actually to not take all 4 classes. For example, let's say that next spring you're finishing your undergrad degree. And to finish it, you need three arts and sciences courses and your 2 accounting 4,000 courses. Okay, well, in that case, we're probably just going to have you do 2 BAM classes and your 3 arts and sciences classes and call it good and finish up your undergrad degree and move straight into the grad timeline. It would not make sense for you to try to drag out your undergrad timeline in that situation to the fall. It probably wouldn't make sense just to drag out the undergrad tuition, because it's going to slow you down when you think about the fact that you can't take more than 4 classes before moving on. So sometimes students have to decide to just move on, just finish the undergrad degree and move on. Okay, during your grad year, you would basically finish up the classes you had not yet taken. And I will tell you right here, our capstone for our graduate program is Accounting 6620, which is the advanced auditing course. So that'll be the final course you take in whatever semester you're finishing, but there's a lot of flexibility outside of that. I mentioned this in the primary video, but I'll say it again here. If you're going to be a taxation student, you're going to have very little flexibility in your planning, and you'll need to work closely with me to make sure that we get you out in as fast a way as possible. So the accounting degree has a lot of flexibility. The taxation degree has very little. All right, I've already showed you this timeline. So what I'm going to do is pause the video and jump back into the main website and show you how to apply and some of the other information related to that. So give me a second and I'll see you back on the website. All right, so we're back on the website. As you take a look at this, obviously you're going to want to click on, and again, I'll show you how to get there. If you go under Graduate Programs, Accounting and Taxation, over here you'll see the BAM information. So this is a brief explanation. It recovers some of the things I've already talked about. It also links you to the NASBA, where you can learn about the CPA requirements in Colorado, or any state for that matter. But down here is the contact information, and I want to show you over here, if you hit Admissions and Application. If you want to apply for the BAM, and I showed you those deadlines earlier, they were October 15th and March 15th, but if you want to apply, here's what you're going to do. You are going to download this form, fill it out, And then you're going to click on this intent application, which will take you to a portal where you'll fill out an application. And in that portal, you'll also upload this form that you download and filled out. That's all you have to do. If you'll do that, then shortly after those deadlines, so with an October 15th deadline for the fall, sometime in, within 2 weeks after that deadline, you can expect a response from us giving you the next steps and an update, okay? But that's all you have to do to apply for the BAM program. It's very easy. There's no GMAT requirement, no letters of recommendation required for this program. It is intended to be very seamless for our undergrad Leeds students to join our program. So take a look at these requirements and how you'll actually do that process. I mentioned in the start of this video that you're going to, as a BAM student, pay undergrad tuition for a while and then start paying grad tuition. Let me show you how to decipher those costs. So over here, I have a Google search window. You can see that I've just typed in CU Boulder tuition rate sheets. So just if you'll Google that, you'll find right at the top the Bursar's website. We can click that. And let's take a look at fall 2020. And you're going to see there are a lot of sheets to look at. Okay, let's start out with the undergrad. You're going to fall under one of these sheets. You'll have to take a look and see which one you fall under. But let's start here with the in-state tuition. If you're an in-state tuition, and let's just say we're a group in based on the time you started. Well, here's the business tuition, and here's the after COF rate. And you're going to notice that it costs the same amount for 12 hours for an in-state student as it does for 18 hours. Meaning as long as you're quote unquote full-time, it costs the same amount whether you take 12 hours or 18 hours. Okay, so that's the billing structure at undergrad tuition. Well, at a certain point, you're going to jump into graduate tuition. And under the graduate tuition, there are several sheets here. By the way, I'm going to mention, let me do this now because it'll make more sense. If we go to the out-of-state tuition, you're going to not see the same billing structure. Out-of-state tuition is actually a flat rate for business. It does not vary between 0 and 18 hours, basically. It is a flat rate, and it says that here. So just be aware of that if you're out of state. But let's go now to the graduate tuition. Here's how graduate tuition works here at CU Boulder. We are specifically under the professional graduate sheets. And not only that, we're even more specifically a professional MS in business, which is right there. Okay, for in-state tuition at the graduate level, it is a flat rate per credit hour, okay? Each credit hour is the same rate. And so currently that would be $1,053 per hour. So notice if you take 3 hours, one 3-hour class, you're gonna pay 3 times that rate. If you take 2 3-hour classes or 6 credit hours, you're gonna pay 6 times that rate. So notice that's a different structure entirely than you saw at the undergrad level. Additionally, if you're out of state or international, you're gonna click that and you're gonna see that it's a little bit more, but it is still a flat rate per credit hour. So in either case, you need to see whether you're in-state, out-of-state, international, the billing mechanism is very different at the undergrad level and the grad level. And I just want to remind you, the way the BAM program works, all of you are going to be eligible to pay undergraduate tuition for a while for your BAM courses and your undergrad courses. And then once you finish that undergrad degree, however many hours you have left, whether it's, we know it's going to be at least 18, right? Because it's a 30-hour program and you're only allowed to take 12 as a BAM. So we know it's at least 18. It could be more depending on how many you were able to do. But those remaining hours will all be billed at the graduate rate, specifically the professional MS in business graduate rate. Now there's also fees, obviously, but I'm just talking about the tuition. At this point, we've covered everything I really wanted to cover in terms of the high-level overview of the BAM program, just to kind of regather and recover some stuff from the beginning. You should apply the semester that you're finishing the junior level courses, or if you're going to finish them in a summer, you should apply that spring. You can only take 4 of the MS courses before you finish your undergrad degree entirely. And of the 4 that you could take, at least 2 of them should count for your 4,000 equivalents, and you could potentially count a third towards a business elective. But even though they double count or they overlap, they're still only adding 3 unique hours per class to your transcript. So you may get 6 hours of degree progress, but you're only getting 3 hours towards 150 required by the CPA. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of information around this program. If you have questions, please reach out. Again, the way you find the information to reach out is go back over to the website. And if you go over here and hit the Bachelor's Accelerated Master's Program here, you'll see our information down there at the bottom. Please reach out if you have questions. We hope this is helpful as you make plans for your future. I mentioned in the other video that I hope you already watched, our placement rates for our students have been in the mid 90%. We're one of the highest placing programs on campus and within Leeds. We have phenomenal relationships with accounting firms, with banks, with investment firms. So opportunities do abound here at Leeds, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.